Hello and welcome back to Hammerhead Sports Production. I'm back. So, anyway, as you're already probably wondering in your head, is Donovan McNabb a Hall of Famer? Well, let's find out, shall we? So, I did some extensive research that really killed my hand because I had to copy it all down, make sure I memorized it. So, for this video, very painful, and you better thank my hand. Go ahead, do it. So, anyway, onto the discussion. So, Donovan McNabb, as we all know, was one of the best Eagles quarterbacks they ever had. And we all know that he had that very infamous feud with Terrell Owens. And then he also led the Philadelphia Eagles to 4 straight NFC Championship games, losing 3 of them, winning 1 of them, and made it to 1 Super Bowl where he threw, what was it? I know he threw 3 picks. I forget how many touchdowns he threw. I think it was 2 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. And then ended his career with the Minnesota Vikings. So, anyway, let's get on to it. And, oh yeah, before I forget, and that very infamous after he got drafted, the Eagles fans booed him, which was very, very stupid of them. Not just because, we didn't know what he was going to become. Still, you don't boo him, alright? That's supposed to be one of the happiest times of a person's life is getting drafted. That's why I have a problem with the Eagles fans. Eagles fans, I've seen a lot of things where, you make them wonder where they don't even have class. But that's my personal opinion, and so that's something for another time. So anyway, Donovan McNabb went to 6 Pro Bowls. He had a combined record of 98 wins, 62 losses, and 1 tie. Threw for 234 touchdowns to 117 interceptions, and threw for 37,276 yards total. He made in the playoffs he had a combined record of 9-7, threw 24 touchdowns and 17 interceptions, and threw for 3,752 yards. I tell you, it's not easy to do these kinds of things. And now let's get into some of the knocks on him. So first of all, excluding his last year in Minnesota and excluding his rookie year, except for 1 game, he missed 44 games due to injury, which is kind of a problem. When you're a quarterback, they look upon you as an Iron Man, and one of the things they do look about is how many games were you able to start every year. And throughout his career, he was only able to start 16 games. I believe it was 4 times he only started 16 games. And then 1 time they sat him, so really it's 5. So he only, out of his 13 years, only 5 times did he start, actually excluding his rookie year and excluding, 12. So 5 out of 12 year. No. Take that one, out of 11 years he started 16 games 5 times, basically. Sorry, I should have done that before, but anyway. So that's one of the knocks, and then another knock on him is that he couldn't get it in the big games. We all know, as I said before, he lost 3 of the 4 NFC Championship games, and then he lost the 2008 NFC Championship game to Kurt Warner, and then basically kind of fell off the map. So those are kind of knocks on him. And then another thing, I don't know if this is a bad thing. It's kind of like a bad good thing. He's tied with John Elway for most playoff wins by a quarterback to not win a Super Bowl. But Jim Kelly's in the Hall of Fame. Just saying. Depending on your perspective, whether or not I don't know how to judge it, honestly. That stat. That's it. NFL record. So those are some of the knocks. Some of the good things is that he did have 16 career comebacks, 24 game-winning drives, was I think is just as many as Roger Staubach had in his career. And some other good things is he's passed for more TDs than Terry Bradshaw, which I did find surprising, Ken Anderson, Jim Hart, Randall Cunningham, Matt Hasselbeck, Joe Namath, Noah Van Brocklin, yes, the Dutchman himself, Trent Green, and Phil Simms. He passed for more touchdowns than those guys, and most of those guys are in the Hall of Fame, or like him, are in the talk of Hall of Fame. He has more quarterback wins than Ken Stabler, Troy Aikman, Len Dawson, Bart Starr, Bob Greasy, Steve Young, and Mark Brunell, and Dan Fouts. Again, most of those guys are in the Hall of Fame or are involved in Hall of Fame talk. He's also passed for more yards than Jim Kelly, Steve Young, Troy Aikman again. You're going to hear some of the getting, so in case you get confused, you have to, back these up. Some of the names I'm going to say at least 2 or 3 times. So as I start again, more passing yards than Jim Kelly, Steve Young, Troy Aikman, Kurt Warner, Sonny Jurgensen, Len Dawson, Terry Bradshaw, Jay Cutler, and Tony Romo. Again, most of those guys are in the Hall of Fame or are in Hall of Fame talk, and I soundly believe that Sonny Jurgensen should be in the Hall of Fame, but that's my personal opinion. And then in 2008, he threw for 3,916 yards and 23 touchdowns to 11 picks. And the next year, he basically kind of put up the same numbers, but a little bit lower. In 2009, which was his last Pro Bowl, bear with me, 22 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 3,553 yards. So he threw for fewer yards, fewer pick, which is good, but fewer touchdowns. Now, I went back and I looked who were the 2008 Pro Bowl quarterbacks for the NFC. Drew Brees threw for 5,069 yards, 34 touchdowns, and 17 picks. All right, that was one of his best seasons. Then Eli Manning threw for 3,238 yards, 21 touchdowns, to 10 picks. Kurt Warner threw for 4,583 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 14 picks. So I would take Manning off. But here's the thing. I think it had to do... I wonder if that had something to do with Eli being in New York. But who knows? But really, you could definitely take Eli out of that Pro Bowl and put him. So really, he should have gone to 7 Pro Bowls. And that's usually the amount of Pro Bowls quarterbacks kind of go. They will go around 7 to 10, depending on how long their career goes. So, but he only got elected to 6, but he really should have gone to 7. But 6 is still a lot of Pro Bowls. Alright? That's a lot. And then he rushed for 3,459 yards and 29 TDs. He has more rushing yards than John Elway, who's in the Hall of Fame. So you have... And then in the 2000s, he led all quarterbacks from 2000 to 2004 in quarterback wins. And then he ranked 4th in wins during his 13-year career, only behind 3 guys. That would be Tom Brady, Brett Favre, and Peyton Manning. Three of the top 3 or top 5. Those guys are in the top 5 greatest quarterbacks of all time, and he was 4th behind those guys in quarterback wins during his career. That's pretty good company, if I do say so myself. That's pretty good company. And then, I think one of the reasons why he didn't have better stats is we all know they really did. The Eagles never could really get a wide receiver. They had Pinkerton, I remember. See what I mean? I can't even remember the wide receivers. That's the only one I can remember is Pinkerton because of the that 4th and 25 catch he made against the Packers. The only guy he ever had who was a Hall of Famer is Terrell Owens, or at least was good, decent. I mean, yeah, he had Deshaun Jackson, but that was basically near the end of his career. And then he wasn't even around for Jeremy Maclin, I think. So he really didn't have first-rate wide receiver talent. If he had first-rate wide receiver talent, he would have been a great quarterback, even better quarterback. It showed. The 2004, the year the year that they went to the Super Bowl, he threw for 31 touchdowns and 8 picks, threw for 3,875 yards, and that was when he had Terrell Owens. Imagine a guy of Terrell Owens' caliber, or at least two of them split. He would have some really good stats. Some of his best seasons. His first Pro Bowl year, he threw for 21 touchdowns and 13 picks, threw for 3,365 yards. Not great, but I mean, what do you expect from a sophomore quarterback? And I think his sophomore year he almost won MVP. So pretty good. And then next year he got even better with 25 touchdowns and just 12 picks, but he threw for fewer yards with 3,233. So honestly, I definitely think you can make an argument that he should be in the Hall of Fame. He should definitely be in the Hall of Fame. He's got the numbers, he's got the stats, he's got more stuff than a lot of NFL Hall of Famers. But I think the reason that he's not in yet, and this is just barring anything from off the field. I'm not talking about off the field, I'm talking about just on the field, is that he just never won the Super Bowl. If he had one Super Bowl win, I bet he'd already be in the Hall of Fame. The second he became eligible, he'd be in the Hall of Fame. Or if he made it to more Super Bowls, he would definitely be in the Hall of Fame. But because he only made it to one, and because he was like so-and-so in the playoffs, he's not in the NFL Hall of Fame. But I don't know if that's completely because of him. I mean, yes, the 2002 NFC Championship game, he threw that terrible pick to Rondé Barber. But honestly, you can't attribute every single loss to him. I mean, if you had given him first-rate talent, you definitely would have won more. So I hope you got you guys thinking in here, and see you next time.